Welcome to Never Show the Monster. I'm Kelly Attaway.
I'm Chelsea Hollander.
And today we are talking about the movie Little Evil, which came out in, 2017? And it stars Adam Scott, love him to death, and Evangeline Lily. And they have just gotten married. That's the celebration. And her son, 6-year-old boy, Lucas, is...
5-year-old.
5-year-old? That's right. He's turning 6. You're right. Thank you so much for correcting me. Keep me honest in the plot.
Okay. I will.
And he is the antichrist. And we have to deal with that.
Yes. So, light movie.
Yeah, it's light. It's goofy.
Yeah. It is on Netflix. So if you guys want to watch it, the director and writer is Eli Craig, who you probably don't know is Sally Field's son.
No, I definitely did not know that.
Yeah, he also has written or directed, maybe both. He definitely directed Zombieland and Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
Wait, so did he do both Zombielands?
He just did the first Zombieland. He just directed it. He did write this movie and Tucker and Dale vs. Evil.
Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is so much fun.
Yeah, great cast. And we see somebody from that cast in this movie, which I was very excited to see.
Oh, who?
The crazy videographer.
Oh. And which one is he? Is he Tucker and or Dale?
He's Dale. Yeah, he's Dale.
Mm-hmm. I knew Alan Tudyk was in Tucker and Dale.
Oh, yeah.
That's like 100% why I watched that movie.
Same. I mean, yeah, it fits. Like, it is a comedy horror with a great cast. So
yeah.
It is one that we would jump at. I don't know if I can't remember if there was any celebration in that. Otherwise, we might have brought it into the series.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I didn't have a lot of fun facts about this movie. I did get excited because I saw the director/writer, and I liked the things that he had done before. It has, I think, a 5 point, almost every movie in the series has been like between a 5 and a 6. 5.6.
That's honestly higher than I would have estimated.
So, do we want to get into how you felt about it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
It was fine. I wouldn't call it good. It is unlikely I will ever watch it again.
Yeah.
Or think about it again.
I did myself the disservice of watching Happy Death Day 2 right before I watched it.
Fuck.
Yeah. And that movie has a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And Little Evil is like the antithesis of energy. Until the end, there's some energy at the end. Yeah. But up until the end, it's very slow. It's definitely a comedy. As I go through the plot of this movie, nothing I say is going to sound funny, but it does pepper in jokes that are kind of funny. So I'll give it that. Like, I liked the jokes. I thought they were delivered well. I thought the acting went well. And there were some jokes that I did laugh out loud about, and I thought that it had a lot of good callbacks. However, this was not on the trivia page, and I need to do more research on it, but I think that this is heavily influenced by the movie I Love You, Man, because there are specific instances in this where I'm like, oh, this is
They talk about Rush.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And one of the characters is two of the characters in I Love You, Man, and they almost verbatim say the same lines.
Oh, really?
They're like that close. Okay, probably not verbatim. I am exaggerating. I'm known for that sometimes. But it's the character you're thinking of is, I swear, is Tevin from I Love You, Man, which is the coworker, and they both work in real estate. And then he has like a really crass coworker that wants to work with him. And it's like always talking about like sex and other stuff and is really weird. And he talks about his face being on urinal cakes. I Love You, Man is a great movie. You guys should watch that.
Okay, I don't really remember that movie very well. That's got
Paul Rudd and Jason Segel.
And Jason Segel, now is that the one where he does the Muppet musical?
No, that's Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh, damn.
Wait, is that Forgetting? That is Forgetting Sarah Marshall, right? Or is that just him
in real life? I don't know.
No, I think that's them Forgetting Sarah Marshall. I think that's the same. But Yeah, Bridget Everett's character is Tevin at the beginning, and then she ends up being Jason Segel's character at the end. Because then she even has a man cave and loves Rush.
So she's also in this movie? I don't know who this is.
Bridget Everett is
in this
Al.
movie?
Yeah,
Okay.
Bridget Everett is Al. And so Al, Tevin in I Love You Man was the coworker of the main character, and they both worked in real estate. Al is the coworker of the main character, and they both work in real estate.
Okay, yeah, that feels like a callback for sure. Okay.
Yeah, and then he the whole thing about Tevin is he shows up to Paul Rudd's desk, and I can't remember the name of his character in that movie, but he shows up to his desk and he's talking to him about trying to get on a Lou Ferrigno deal with him, but he talks about porn and stuff, and it's kind of a little too much, which that's how Al feels in this movie.
I do have a question about pronouns, though.
Yeah.
You're using he.
Tevin is a he.
Tevin is a he.
Yeah. I said Al was she. Is that correct or incorrect?
I don't know. That was my question. So Al refers to himself as stepdad in this movie.
Yeah.
But is that a lesbian thing?
It was in 2017, so I think it was just a lesbian thing.
Okay.
I feel like if it was more recent, I probably would have thought pronouns.
Kristen Arnett. Do you follow her on Twitter?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God, she's incredible. She's a writer. Kristen Arnett is her name, and she's so fucking funny. And her whole persona on Twitter is I'm your dad. I'm drinking a beer. I'm calling you champ. I love Florida. Aww. And
I don't hate that at all.
No, she's incredible. Highly recommend following her. And she's very smart. Her brand is absolutely Steel Reserve in a kiddie pool in the backyard, but she's very, very smart.
And I appreciate that.
And so that's what I was thinking about with Al. I was okay, I know that we're doing a joke about how we're doing do you remember that SNL bit from the 90s? It's Pat.
Yeah, Pat.
And it was
very ambiguous on the gender.
Yeah. So I was I feel like we're doing that here. And 2017 is way too late to be doing that.
Yeah, but I don't think that we are. I think we know that she is a she.
She? Okay.
I feel like that was pretty obvious that she's a she, and she dresses like I would expect, not like her wife, but I had I thought it was very clear it was a lesbian relationship.
Okay.
And it was just girls can be stepdads too. And I thought it was more inclusive of you can still be a stepdad to a child and be a female.
You saw it as empowering.
Yeah.
That's nice. Okay. That's nice.
Okay.
I like that better than how I saw it, which was troubling.
Yeah, I saw it as girls can be stepdads too. I am the stepdad to this. Because she forms the masculine role in the relationship to the son.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I agree. Girls can be stepdads too.
Yeah. And that's what I thought it was coming across as. And I feel I think the writer-director is pretty smart, so I feel like that might be what his intention was. I'm not 100% sure because Al is an ambiguous name. But
yeah, that's why I was getting Pat vibes. I was I see what you're doing. But maybe I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. It was very low energy. I thought it was funny. I liked it better near the end of the film than I did the beginning. At the beginning, I was oh, this feels like it's going to be I don't know, a family comedy or a Leave It to Beaver.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. And I was oh, this is, I get it. We're we got some horror vibes and you're just making fun of it. And I like that kind of thing, but it's not coming across right. It just feels kind of weird.
It felt defanged. It felt So at the beginning of the movie, I was okay, so I'm imagining we're going to get what happens after Rosemary's Baby. And
okay.
That's not what it is. It's more a
Omen.
Disney Channel original.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
A Disney Channel original Omen.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the name of... Oh, Damien. Okay. I was trying to figure out the name in the Omen. And the child in this movie's name is Lucas, which I feel is also close to Lucifer, so I guess
Yeah,
that's where it gets close to that. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So the film opens on a woman running in the rain, and then she finds out her son buried her husband, and she goes to dig him up, and this is like kind of frantic, and she grounds the son and then digs out the husband, and he says, I want a divorce. So you already kind of get off on the foot that Kelly and I were talking about, where it's like, what are you trying to give us here? Like, this is, I get you're making some jokes, but this is kind of weird. Yeah. And that's where I said it had a family comedy and Leave It to Beaver vibes. I don't know. It was like, no, it feels like it should have been filmed in front of a live studio audience or something ridiculous.
Yes, you are 100% correct on both of those points. Like, yes, it absolutely feels like, people are entering a room and waiting for applause.
Yeah.
They're like cheating out to the audience, like spiritually. Nobody actually does it, but that's absolutely what it feels like. And Evangeline Lily, throughout the movie, she's the mom. She's like pristine looking.
Yeah.
She's always in like a perfectly beautiful dress. Her hair is beautiful, and she's like cutting flowers,
seems like she just made a
or
cake.
cooking, or cleaning.
Or
and when she gets mad, yeah, exactly. She like she gets angry and she goes downstairs. She goes downstairs and starts like scrubbing laundry. Like, it feels very like Leave It to Beaver. Like, oh, we've got a 50s housewife on our hands.
Yep. So that's the vibe you get from the beginning. I think it was a weird start to it, and it did kind of. I feel like it had a different vibe throughout the movie than what I got from this, which I kind of appreciate, because I did not at the beginning. I was kind of underwhelmed, so I was like, well, I'm probably not gonna like this, but at the end I did end up feeling pretty good about it. So that I went on that journey where I was like, I don't like what this is doing, but at the end I was like, I like where it went, but it took a while to get there. Is how I felt about it. And so that's the first scene that we get with them, and then we get Gary, who is played by Adam Scott, in a moving truck with two guys, and he's moving in with his wife. Oh my God. Is her name Samantha?
Yes.
I have her as Elizabeth in every other part of this, of my notes. Why do I do this? He's moving in with Samantha and her son. And he didn't, from the way they talk about it, it sounds like he didn't get any time with him before they got married. And then they kind of hint at the wedding being kind of weird. But he does try in the next couple scenes to be a good stepdad. Like, he's like, do you want to go play baseball? Do you want to build a boxcar racer? Oh, you brought me some worms, you creepy little child. Do you want to go fishing? Like, he's trying to even appeal to the things that he sees that the kid might like. So he's trying, and you can tell he's actually trying. And he seems like he's doing an okay job. And he's taking the son to school, so he often picks up and takes the son to school. And he gets a call from his videographer, and he's like, I need to see you ASAP.
The wedding videographer, yeah.
Oh, wedding videographer, yeah. Not just his regular one that just shoots his life. He's a vlogger.
Like,
I don't know if you guys know. But he gets a call and said he wants to meet up with him. And then the next shot is them at the office, and that's when we meet the Tevin character, which is Al, who is wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. I think she wears a Hawaiian shirt pretty consistently throughout this film. And she's very...
I was imagining her in like a fishing vest. Is that wrong?
Oh, I mean,
that's the vibe, though, right?
She was wearing khakis, so... I mean,
maybe I just brought the cargo pants up to the top.
But they're in the office, and you can tell that Al is getting all up in Gary's business and like talking to him about being a stepdad and how like being a stepdad, it's terrible because she is also a stepdad. And she said that she has therapy that she goes to every week if he wants to come with her. And he's like, I don't want to go to your therapy with you, but thanks. So then that's what we're getting for them. So that's kind of different from Tevin, because it sounds like Hal is weird but still supportive, because I don't know if I'd invite many people to my therapy groups unless I felt like we were willing to make a deeper connection. I don't know. Yeah. And they're both in real estate, and while they're there, Gary gets a message about a nunnery that he's had for sale. You know, as expected, the nunneries are just around. And it's an old nunnery that's been abandoned. And then he gets contacted by a priest that has been talking about, I think, the end of times on TV. So we saw the priest earlier in the movie, and he was just talking about the end of time. So we have like a doomsday priest.
Did you recognize him?
Should I recognize him from something? Like, he looked familiar, but I didn't know exactly what.
I knew immediately and was shocked that no, that's not true. I did know immediately, but then I second guessed myself. He was the weird preacher in Carnival.
Oh.
Yeah. And so when I saw him on the news, so even before we like meet him, I was like, that is the preacher from Carnival. And then I immediately was like, wait, there was a creepy preacher in the Dead Zone.
There's a lot of creepy preachers.
Hold on. And like went and looked. Yeah, from
Same preacher?
Carnival.
Oh.
Which is also a great TV series.
Yeah.
I think it only had one season, canceled prematurely. Check it out.
So then we are going to show this preacher priest. Is he a priest?
I don't know. I don't know what the different words mean.
He's got the white thing. The black outfit with the white thing.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a priest.
Yeah, so that's a priest. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I learned that from
Padre.
Evil.
I know it from Supernatural.
So he is very creepy as he goes in and he smells the place and he's like, I love the smell of an old nunnery or something like that. He basically asks, I don't care how much it is, I'll pay double or I'll pay more. And he's like, well, we do have a really rich couple looking at it. I feel like I'm going to do a terrible job of describing this movie. I did like the jokes that were peppered in it, but if I try to describe the scenes, I can't repeat the jokes because
I know
it's going to make it seem real dumb. So if you do like movies with just like little jokes that are pretty funny throughout it, this is an okay movie for that, I would say.
It's perfectly pleasant.
Yeah. I think pleasant is a accurate description.
It's inoffensive, I think. I guess it could be offensive
there
to
are some parts where I'm like, that's a little crystally, isn't it? So
I'm just so that's pretty offensive. But this was pre-cancellation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But I love Adam Scott. And it's just like, it's fine to put on in the background.
So while he's there, he does get a call from the school asking to come pick up. No, he gets a call from Samantha, not Elizabeth, to come pick up their son from school because something's happened. So then Gary goes to pick him up and he is confronted by the principal and a therapist. The therapist's name is Dr. Farrow. And this was one of the fun facts, is like it might be Mia Farrow as like a nod to Mia Farrow for Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, so I wasn't off base with my Rosemary's Baby thoughts.
Not too
going
off
into
base.
This movie.
Or maybe not off base at all.
I just didn't know that her name was Mia Farrow. I mean, now that you say it, I remember that, but I like wouldn't have been able to pull that.
I also, in my head, when they said it, I spelled it differently than that. So
yeah, I would have.
It didn't click for me.
Egypt.
That's how I spelled it. Yeah, my brain was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That checks. So he is talking to both of them, and the therapist and the principal seem to be really focused on mostly Gary and how Gary is adapting to becoming a stepdad and not so much Lucas. And then we find out that Lucas told his science teacher to go to hell. And he was like, yeah, that is pretty bad. And then they said that she had poured lye on her face and jumped out the window, impaling herself on a fence. So that's much worse. I don't know if you guys know the difference, but it's a little bit worse.
That was a very funny reveal, though. Like he swore, and then afterward.
Yeah. And whenever I was thinking about this, I was like, when I describe this, I need to be sure to say this did not happen in front of them at all. It was just described by the principal as something that had happened. They do go outside and they do see the woman being removed from the fence. But everyone's very calm about everything terrible happening, which is, I think, kind of funny. I think that was a good way to show that. Because it was like how people who obviously deal with traumatic events with comedy, like Kelly and I, we probably would be making kind of jokes in that situation or staying a little calm. And I feel like this would be similar to how we would probably approach the Antichrist. Yeah. I feel like we would be a lot less serious than the situation called for. And I feel like that's what's happening here.
I did think it was funny that Gary covers Lucas's eyes to shield him from
what he had done
from the dead woman. Yeah, it's like he's the Antichrist. What are you protecting him from?
Mm-hmm.
He did this.
So then Gary goes to the group therapy because obviously things are getting weird.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'll go to the group therapy. And we've got like a good cast here. We got Al, and then we got Donald Faison is hanging out as one of the from Scrubs, the best friend.
Yeah, Turk was his name in Scrubs. Yeah,
yeah. Donald Faison is his real name in life.
Yeah, I don't know real names.
Yeah, and it's got Chris D'Elia, which is not the one that I would mention as being one of the best. And I was gonna say Al is played by Bridget Everett, and the Kyle Bornheimer plays a character in it as well. And I'm trying to think of what you guys might know him from. I recognized him.
I absolutely recognized him, but
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Teddy. He plays Teddy, who dated.
Yeah, he loves a Pilsner.
Amy. Yeah. Yeah, that's why. It.
That's why I couldn't place him because he plays such a plank of wood in Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
and he does it so well. So
when I saw him, I definitely was like, I know he does characters. I know I've seen him in comedies. Could not tell you what it was.
I was gonna say, at least I looked that one up because it took me a second. I was like, I know this guy so well because that face, and for some reason it's a very calming face, which makes sense because I feel like he plays very calming characters. Yeah. So in group therapy, they basically all talk about terrible stuff that their stepkids are doing and are like, you know what? Sometimes stepkids are just awful, and that's just how they are. So it kind of puts Gary at ease, thinking that he is not out of the norm here.
And one of them has a funny line too. They say something like, "Stepkids are the devil." like they.
Yeah.
So that's a funny joke for us because we know.
And after the therapy, they try to help Gary figure out how he can be more part of the kid's life. So he said that he does have a birthday party coming up and he will help plan that. And he does. And then there is a birthday party happening. And earlier in the movie, Samantha was worried about not having enough kids. And it sounds like Gary pulled through by inviting all of the kids, the stepkids.
Yeah,
from
he
the
got the
group.
stepdad support group together.
And he got a clown from the internet, and it was a clown flavored birthday party themed, not flavored. It's not food. And
I think it's fine.
The cake was clown flavored. I guess that it could be clown flavored if you go.
That takes it into a different layer of horror. That would be more like a cake from Pleasant Valley in 2001 Maniacs.
That's a good point. That's a valid point. Tattoos and everything. So they're having this party, and Lucas is off to the side just swinging as a like creepy little kid in the dark, and everybody else is enjoying the clown, and the clown isn't doing very well. At some point, though, the clown does catch on fire and then puts himself out in the kiddie pool. Oh, before this, though, all of the stepfathers get together and take shots. So you're seeing them form like camaraderie and a bond there, which is nice. And, you always root for adult friendships.
Except for Chris D'Elia.
Yeah,
I should not be at a kid's birthday party.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You are right.
I know.
He probably isn't anymore, honestly.
Oh.
So then the clown catches on fire, falls into the kiddie pool, and as he's rolling away, Gary gives him $1 as a tip because he only has $1 in his wallet. It is a kind of funny interaction. And he does say...
missed that entirely.
Yeah, he was like... He pulls it out and he was like, here, let me give you something for your troubles. And then he pulls out $1. He's like... And he hands it to him. And as he's handing it to him, the clown grabs his hand and he says, it's the kid. The kid made me do this. And then he rolls him away.
Because before the clown catches on fire, Lucas stares daggers at Gary. He's threatening to do something. And I want to be clear, Lucas has not spoken yet in this movie.
Yeah, correct.
This kid is creepy.
Yes, and he does a bunch of creepy stuff, and I did not write down when he did the creepy stuff because they were just peppered in there. Like, at some point, there's, like, a TV that is just static, and he has this sock puppet he talks through sometimes, but he has not talked yet, and I'll talk through the sock puppet alone. Yeah. He brought a bunch of worms to him, and then after the kid's birthday party, he does go see the wedding videographer, who was Dale. Did I say it was Dale?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
The name of the actor is Tyler Labine.
Hey, while you're looking up actors, will you look up Al's wife's name?
Oh, yeah, she's in Undeclared.
She's in Carnival.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, okay. Carla Gallo.
That sounds right.
Now I'm worried she's not in Undeclared. She's got to be. She's also in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Okay, yeah, there's something going on here. All these things are somehow related.
Is everyone in I Love You, Man? No, I'm just kidding. I gotta check to see if she's in Undeclared, and I didn't just make that up. I didn't. Why would I do that? I have mistakenly said people are in movies, though, before.
Oh, yeah, we all have.
Pretty often. Oh, she's totally in it. She is Lizzie. Okay. Wanted to make sure. Wait, where was I? Oh, wedding videographer. And then we meet the videographer, who is his name's Carl with a K. You know how we love Carls with a K.
We love a Carl with a K.
We love a Carl with a K. And he is definitely like a very suspicious person, kind of conspiracy theory-ist type guy.
Yeah, when Gary shows up, he like presses the buzzer to be let in, and the videographer is like, "Were you followed?" And Gary's like, "Why? What? No, why would I have been followed?" And I feel like his windows were all covered.
They were covered. It was like it was like with paper, but he had like a bunch of shelves with videotapes on it. I mean, makes sense for a wedding videographer, but it was very sketchy.
Yeah.
He also has a film vision. So they start watching the tape, and the tape is like shaky, and it's like zooming in and out weird. It's not very good. And then he asked him if, since we gave you all this money, could you not afford a tripod? And he said, did Scorsese have a tripod? Yeah. And then he started comparing like a bunch of other directors, and he was like, I won a short film contest recently or something. He like named a specific festival. But he did say, as I was going through this, I noticed at this point your officiant started speaking in Latin. And he was like, yeah, it was Latin. And he was like, no, it was not Latin. And then he slowed it down and rewound it, and it said, save the child from the fire and the brimstone. So then he was like, well, that's not good for him, right? And then we find out what happened on their wedding day.
Yeah.
And it turns out a tornado just came up out of it and out of nowhere. And then as they're watching the video, he pulls Gary and is like, no, watch this, because Gary's about had it and he's going to leave. And he's like, no, look at this part. And you can see the tornado happening. There is a funny joke where he's like, oh, I didn't know Uncle Scott made it. And then Uncle Scott gets sucked up into the... full of jokes. But then there is Lucas standing right in front of the tornado. And the tornado is also not moving. It is just kind of stationary in one spot. And Lucas is standing in front of it. And nothing on his clothes is moving. His hair's not moving. And he even says, like, his hair's not even moving. How is he doing that? I think that there is something going on here. And Gary's like, well, it's probably just a lot of hair gel. Logic. But the best part I liked about the scene was that the way that Lucas was, like, the way it was shot, it was like at an angle, and then he like paused, and it was just sitting at an angle, and I was like, this is a terrible shot for any filmmaker.
To be fair, there's a tornado happening.
I guess. I
guess I dropped my cinematography. No, you know what? I kick into high gear. You know? Like, oh, there's a tornado happening.
I gotta get that
I'm
shot.
already documenting this.
Exactly.
Like, I thought I was making a wedding video. Nah. I'm making Twister Part 2.
Is there a Twister 2? Oh, Sharknado. I'm thinking of Sharknado. Sorry. So then he gets home.
Wait.
Oh,
There's
is
a
there
whole
more?
other conversation with the videography. Yeah.
Oh.
He's like, I have been researching your wife.
Oh, yeah, this was good.
And
Yeah.
all of her ex-boyfriends have died. All of them in crazy accidents, including a wood chipper accident, except for one. One is still around. And yeah, then he goes home. Sorry. He's just about to confront her
that was
about
good.
that. Yeah.
I'm glad that you added that. She did mention it kind of at some point. There is a lot of weird gaslighting in this movie. It feels very uncomfortable at times because he's like, this kid is uncomfortable. There's something maybe wrong with this kid and maybe it's not me. I'm trying really hard. And then she's like, everyone's left him. Every one of them has left. One of them even died. And then he was very calm about it. He was like, I didn't know that. And I was like, man, I would freak out. At this point, I would be like, every one of them? There might be a reason we should figure this out.
And Adam Scott's character he wasn't even being like, your kid's fucked up.
No,
he was like,
wasn't.
We should try to get him into therapy. Like, I think that he's been through a lot and we should try to visit that. And
instead, she was like, you need therapy.
Yeah. She agrees with Dr. Farrow, the psychiatrist. She's like, you do have daddy issues. How about you go?
Yep, exactly. And so after this, he finds out that those other boyfriends did end up dying too. So he's a little freaked out. So he goes home to confront Samantha about it. And I say confront. He's not confrontational. He's very calm whenever he talks to her about everything and is very nice about it. And he was like, could you remind me how baby happened? Who's the father, maybe, please? And then she tries to also kind of seduce him at the same time that she's telling him what
she's
happened.
Fully using sex as a distraction.
Yeah, and then she's like, oh, yeah, you know that time when I told you I was younger and I was in a cult and they found out I was a virgin and then they covered me in this, like, red warm paint and put me on a star and then I fell asleep and I woke up. I had a really terrible nightmare and I woke up and I was pregnant. Ain't no thing.
Just casual.
Yeah.
Who amongst us is not?
And then she kept being like, you're judging me right now. Don't judge me. And I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know if I'm judging. There's just a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it was at this point in the movie, specifically because Evangeline Lily says, do you remember in my 20s when I joined this cult? And I was like, how
old is he?
Are these actors?
Okay. Oh my God. I went through the exact same thing because I was like, unless that kid is like 15, this is not going to line up. No offense.
This kid is 6.
Evangeline Lily is beautiful at whatever age she is at. So
they both look great.
But
they're both in their 50s.
Yeah. I was like, that's not right. So then for a while, I know it mentioned the age of the child earlier in the movie, but for a while, I 100% thought he had to have been 15. And I was like, I guess he's a young-looking 15? I don't know. I'm glad you went through the same thing because I felt so weird about it.
I was like, wait a minute. Actually, I was a little bit curious about it beforehand because we know Evangeline Lily from Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I was going to say Lost.
Didn't watch that one.
Okay.
Oh, was she Kate?
Yep.
Oh.
I think that was her breakout role.
No, Lord of the Rings was before that, right?
What? She's not in Lord of the Rings. She's in The Hobbit. Jesus Christ.
Oh, my bee.
Good.
Well, that lines up better. That lines up better for me. Because I just like did a quick Google and I was like, so wait, is she like 20 years older than Adam Scott? No, they're about the same age.
I think so.
Okay.
If she is 20 years older, what kind of moisturizer did she use?
Yeah, drop that skincare routine. I'm probably allergic to it. No, they are around the same age. I did look it up. God
Okay,
damn,
that
I
makes
should have written
sense.
it down. Let me just go ahead and look it up.
Are they in their 50s or late 40s?
I think Adam Scott was 49 and oh no, she's 43. Oh
Okay.
man, I'm just over here slandering.
I assumed that they were in their 40s.
Yeah, Adam Scott is 49. Okay,
Okay, that
not
makes
50s.
me feel better about things.
My B.
So now Al...
Well, that explains how she looks so great. Sorry.
Yeah, she's not in her 50s. She's not too far away, but I don't think that...
She's like 7 years away. That's
so she had the child in her 20s. The oldest she could be is 29.
Mm-hmm.
So she would have had to have been 35 in this movie. And she could pass for 35, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I absolutely would not have looked this up except
You
that I
knew
know
her.
these actors.
Yeah, same.
I wasn't like, she's not pulling off 35. I was
She
like,
definitely was
wait a minute.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree on that. I was like, I don't think she is that close to my age. And if she is, what?
Yeah,
was she 12 whenever Lost came out? No. That would have been an interesting show. So then
I've dated people her age. Sorry. Okay, go on.
So then Al and Gary go to this monastery. Is it a monastery? I don't know what to call it. I think it's a monastery. It's a church, but it feels like a monastery because it's a bunch of priests that are like, look like they're training to be priests.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know.
Well, that's what we'll call it. And then they go and
But they're trying to track down
the last remaining.
Yeah. The father. They're trying to track down Lucas's dad. Sorry. Okay. Yes. Go on.
Oh, I didn't know they were trying to track down his dad. I thought they were just trying to track down the only man who lived to tell anything.
Yes, but I think that the implication was like the way the videographer said, like, except one. Like, all of her exes are dead except one. It was like, he's the dad.
Oh, is he? Oh, I guess that makes sense for what he says.
Yeah, but then he's not, right? It's the preacher from Carnival. Priest.
I can't tell if it's the preacher or if it's...
this weirdo we're about to meet? Yeah, well...
Well, his name is Gabriel, and they go down to the basement, and he is it self-flagellating? Is it flagellating?
Yeah, with a G, flagellating.
Not flagellating, because that's just self-farting.
Yeah.
Okay, is flagellating a thing that you do to yourself, or is flagellating, is that like part of it?
Huh. I guess I don't know.
Because I kept saying self-flagellating, and I was like, that doesn't seem right.
I think of, I always thought of flagellation as a self-imposed thing, but you're right. You do say self-flagellation.
I think you're right. Do you say that? I'm going to look it up.
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up.
Nope. Flagellating is not necessarily against yourself.
Okay, so you have to do self-flagellation. Okay.
Yeah, so he's self-flagellating.
Well, this is flagellate to whip yourself or someone else, especially as a religious act. So you can say flagellate, and it can mean self, I think. Anyway, they do say flagellate in this. It's flagellate. They're flagellating. He is flagellating. Gabriel is flagellating. We are getting there. He basically says, it's my fault, but you must go to Bethlehem and you must meet Gazamel to stop this. And then he talks about Revelations and how the kid is basically the Antichrist and he is going to bring upon the end of the world.
And did you recognize this guy?
No, it was so poorly lit.
It was very poorly lit. I think intentionally. I think that it was supposed to be like dark and mysterious, but I recognized him and it took me a minute to place him. And there's no reason for me to recognize him. This is one of those things, you know how when you watch enough TV, you're like, I know that actor from season 4 of this other TV show. Couldn't tell you his name, but that's where I know him from. Anyway, he was in the Felicia Day premiere episode of Supernatural. He was a LARPer.
I was going to say, I'm looking at his IMDb specifically because you said that he's only in one fucking episode of Supernatural and you remembered it that well.
Yeah, I did.
His name is Boltar the Furious, a.k.a. Gary.
I think that I remember it so well because Felicia Day's character is so great in Supernatural.
Yeah.
And he's a little shit in that episode. So
this guy is literally in one episode of everything. He's in one episode of X-Files.
Ooh, which one? Reboot or original? It's got to be a reboot. What year?
2001.
Oh, gee.
He's in
Must
one
been late.
episode of
Dog it?
everything. Oh, hold on. I went too far. He's in one episode of Alex Mack, one episode of Smart Guy. Like,
Is he Canadian?
maybe.
I'm going to go ahead and answer. Yes. He was in X-Files and Supernatural in bit parts. He's Canadian.
It checks out.
That bitch lives in British Columbia.
Well, we learned a lot about this actor who spends 3 minutes.
And what's his name?
Sounds great. I don't know. I've lost it. Hank Harris. Oh, great name.
Hank Harris. Yeah, that's strong.
He's an
That's
actor
good.
and writer. Oh, did he write some stuff? What did he write?
It would be so funny if he wrote this movie.
And
one
we were
credit.
just like, well,
Little Evil.
he wrote one movie called Sign of the Times in 1999.
I was going to say that sounds super 90s.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, good for him.
Well, all right. Now I'm completely self-flagellation. He tells Al and Gary, you need to travel to Bethlehem and meet with Gazamel. He's like a monster hunter or something. And then they go to a bar, as you do after you're told that your stepchild is the Antichrist. Yeah, you gotta go get drunk. And then Al is like, holy shit, this is so much worse than my stepchild. And he was like, well, you told me all stepchildren were bad. And she was like, no one's the Antichrist. This is way worse. What are you talking about? So he says, well, maybe we should go to Bethlehem. And then she says, no, I'm the coach for the Little League team. I gotta hang out. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
And then we see a news report about the end of times and like at an army surplus store or something. And it turned out it was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I have no idea where this movie is set, but it's somewhere within drivable distance to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So they head out to Bethlehem and they find Gazamel at this army supply shop. Everything's going off the shelves. Everything's going off the shelves. It's like toilet paper in 2020. 2021? 2020. When did the pandemic
2020,
start?
dude. Yeah, 2020.
Ugh, gross. They get in the car with Gazamel and
And he's someone. Who's he?
I didn't know him from anything.
He was super familiar to me.
Let me look him up.
Sorry to derail us with this.
His name is Brad Williams.
Yeah, yes. Yes, I knew that. That was in my brain.
Is he? I think he might be like a comedian.
I think he is.
I don't think it's any. I think he might be a comedian. He's in.
Yeah, maybe that's how I know him.
Because there's nothing really that I'm like, yeah, Mascots? Did you watch Mascots?
No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I just know him from Comedian. Yeah. From Comedian. From Comedian.
Yeah, from Comedian. Comedian.
Yeah, I know him
the
from Comedian.
Yeah. Makes sense. Checks out.
Yeah.
So he ends up, they're driving in a vehicle? Van. It's a van.
But it's like gross. It looks like
there's
like
a
tour
lot of
van.
stuff in there. And Gosmel tells them that they have beer and what was the other item?
Donuts. It was donuts.
Beer and donuts in the cooler, and Al is psyched.
She is so pumped.
And then she pops one for Gosmel and hands him the beer, and Gary is very concerned about getting a seatbelt, which makes sense in this instance. Like, and then he says, well, it's the end of the world. Seatbelts don't matter. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. And then he asked about his son, and he's like, I think he might be the Antichrist. And he was like, yeah, he is. And I have this knife, and we have to kill him. And it's after he finds out that the child's birthday is June 6th, and he's turning 6 years old. And he's like, you're right. This is him. I didn't think I'd ever get this chance. And we find out that Gozamel's father was also seeking out to kill the child. And he finds out that he has a specific dagger. But it turns out you don't need that specific dagger. It just has to be on hallowed ground.
Yeah.
So the dagger is kind of unnecessary, but it has to be on hallowed ground. And at some point, he says something to him, and there's somebody in the road, and then he swerves off the road. Gozamel's driving, and Gozamel swerves off the road into a corn patch. Is it corn patch? Cornfield. Cornfield. Field of corn.
Field of corn.
they get thrown out. They get thrown out the window. Gozamel gets thrown out the window, but Al and Gary are unscathed thanks to, well, not unscathed, they're pretty beat up. But Gary did find a seatbelt at some point, so he ended up staying in the vehicle. I have no idea how Al stayed in the vehicle. Did Al have a seatbelt on? Quite possibly.
She just braced herself, you know?
Yeah, maybe. And I was saying,
she's one tough cookie.
That's true. That is true. Gosmel did end up very far from the vehicle and not well.
No.
So he basically tells Gary, since you're a stepdad, you have to take the knife, and this is your job now. You need to go do this.
Something happens in this scene, and I did not take good enough notes, but it's all Ghostbusters.
Oh,
so
the Keymaster.
Al is calling. Yeah, they talk about the Keymaster. Gosmel like is weaving this story, and he's talking about a Keymaster, and Adam Scott is like, wait, really? We have to find a Keymaster? And Gosmel is like, no.
That's not real.
Dummy, no. And in addition to that, Al keeps calling Gosmel Gozer from Ghostbusters. Like, we're doing a Ghostbusters thing here.
That's smart. There are a couple different movies that
smart.
I feel like there's fun, a lot of references to different movies in this movie. So I feel like it's good with that.
It's perfectly pleasant, like I said.
Perfectly pleasant.
So perfectly then they pleasant.
End up, car accident.
Oh, when she said he's not well, he dies.
Yeah, for sure. They also talk about being in the cornfield or something, and Al says something, and then Gary says nothing good happens in a cornfield, and then Al says, I don't know, I liked Field of Dreams. And I did like that joke. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's what the movie is full of. So if you like jokes like that, this movie is full of those kind of jokes.
Yeah, and it's especially appropriate here because Adam Scott is like pretty good at baseball. I guess he was like,
oh yeah,
yeah. That's
true.
like they talk about it at the beginning of the movie. Like he was, I don't know, big into baseball.
Yeah,
that's just important later.
So then he does get home, and Samantha is talking to Wendy and Sheila at CPS, Child Protective Services. Is Sheila the Child Protective Services person? And Wendy is Al's wife.
Yeah, exactly.
Sheila is played by Sally Field, who is the writer-director's mother. And love to see Sally Field.
Yeah, always happy to see her. And she does great here. Like, she's playing a bonkers character. And she does it. Yeah. She leans in.
She seems very bonkers. She seems that way in Brothers and Sisters as well.
Oh, that's that other TV show that you mentioned a bunch.
Yeah. I also didn't watch it. That is one I didn't mention it on this podcast. So if you guys haven't listened to A Vague Idea, go listen to A Vague Idea, because we talk about finales, and that's one that I did not watch the finale to. And I still have that like on the backlog to watch eventually, because I don't know, I just don't want it to end. It feels like whenever I watch the finale to Parenthood, and I feel like I died a little bit because it ended. Anyway, let's not go down that path. So at this point, Gary comes home. Gary's disheveled, and he is like, oh, Child Protective Services, aw shit. And Samantha asks him to go tuck in Lucas, because Lucas wanted to be tucked in. Right before he got inside, Gary did see Lucas outside, and he was like, no, he was outside. Please don't. He didn't say, please don't make me go tuck him in, but he kept trying to make excuses not to tuck him in, because he knows he's the Antichrist now, so who wants to go up there and do that? So then he goes up into the room, and he basically just deals with like some painting on the wall with rapture spelled backwards, which looks like it's in like, it's not in blood, but it looks like, disheveled, like kind of like having, that's not, how do I want to say? Like a maniac wrote it or something. It looked crazy. And
this is very Red Rum.
Yeah,
We've
exactly.
got a Red Rum situation on our hands.
And also the lights go out at this point, and she's like, well, he's like, the lights are out, I'm not going to go tuck him in. And she was like, there's a flashlight next to the wall. So I guess this happens pretty often, that you have to have a flashlight to get to the end of your hallway to tuck in your child. So she goes in, Gary goes in to tuck in Lucas. He cannot find Lucas, and there is like a little stuffed lion that keeps saying, Does it say, do you want to play with me or something like that?
Or, oh, yeah, that's what it says. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he takes out the batteries and then it says in a really deep voice, do you want to play with me? And then he like throws it across the room, turns around, and then Lucas is talking with his little sock puppet in the deep voice. He freaks out, runs into the, well, this is a funny scene because he is screaming and then the women are downstairs and they're like, God, they're so helpless. Can't
like,
they just
men
get it
can't
together?
do anything.
Can't he just get it together and do it? But he's like trying to open the door, but the door is locked and he can't get out. And so he runs into the kids' bathroom, which super jealous of anybody that has their own bathroom as a child. What kind of world is that?
Yeah.
That is
very fancy.
So nice. And it
Such
has a clawfoot
privilege.
tub.
I do want to say the sock puppet goat's name is Eruptar.
Oh.
Rapture backwards.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't notice that. I like that. Oh, I did not notice that at all.
I also liked in this scene that Sally Field was drinking wine. Like, she's here
I didn't even
for
notice
CPS.
that either.
She's just like sipping on a Pinot Gris.
Oh my God.
Girl, this is not a girls' night.
That's what I thought whenever it first came in, because I thought it was a girls' night. And then it reminded me of that scene in I Love You, Man, where he accidentally walks into the girls' night that his fiance is having. And I was just like, I'm just having flashbacks to a movie that I really love. So maybe it... What's the opposite of tainted? Made glow lightly? I don't... Maybe it lightened the movie for me or something, but that's kind of how I felt. Because I was like, oh, this is like when he makes all the girlfriends milkshakes or root beer floats with... But that is also... Never mind. I don't want to like make this an I Love You, Man podcast. But I can talk about that movie for hours.
But CPS is here because of the fire clown.
Oh, yeah.
Like
fire clown.
all of the other kids are having like nightmares and stuff. And so they called CPS. The family is called CPS.
Because if they get a fire clown, then that's got to mean there's more going on in the house, right?
I think that it's in addition to Lucas being like a weird kid.
Everything, in addition to everything. Shocked that it took this long for CPS to become involved. But I mean we find out later it's not CPS at all.
Kid is weird. That's true.
Yeah. So it's not actually CPS. Spoiler, guys. And now, so then there at some point he's in the bathroom and the doorknob falls off and he's looking through the doorknob and then Rapture is talking to him and then he freaks out, moves really quickly and knocks himself out on the bathtub. And then Lucas drags him downstairs while everyone is talking about how shitty dudes are and drags him outside and then buries him. And then that's where we get to the scene that we saw at the beginning of the movie where he says, I want a divorce.
Did you clock when this happened in the movie?
No.
This is barely over halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This movie felt long.
Yeah, it sure did. Yeah.
This movie felt very long. But it is not a long movie. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But
and the rest of it, I only
long.
have 3 notes after this. Like,
oh,
not
that's
a lot
good.
more.
I have about the same, so I am gonna go.
All right, let's go.
We'll see how this goes. So now we're at the beginning of the film, and he says, "I want a divorce," and she says, "Don't overreact," and is basically like, "Calm down. This isn't that big of a deal. My son just tried to murder you. That's fine." And then they like. He says something. He said, "Oh, your son is the antichrist," and then that's what upsets her the most. And then she takes Lucas and they go inside, and then it starts raining blood. And he was just like, "It's raining blood. Now do you see?" Like, not now do you see, but he's like, "Thanks a lot." And
yeah, he says like, "Not cool, Lucas."
Yeah, exactly. And then he goes, I think, to talk to Al about what's going on. He's like, "Look, totally, all this stuff is happening." And then Al is like, "You know what? Just fill up his floaties with sand and take him to the water park and let him drown."
She came up with that.
And he was like, "It has to be on hallowed ground." She was like, "The Pope blessed that place. It's good. You're good. Go ahead and go." So then he like wrestles with it, thinks about it, and he ends up calling Samantha and being like, "I want to make it up to Lucas. I want to have a day with him. So let's go have a day and we'll go have some fun." So then he goes to pick up Lucas, and after he picks him up, they go to the water park, and he's got his little Raptor.
Yeah.
He has a rapture, and he's still not talk. He still hasn't talked directly to Gary the entire time, and he even talks through a rapture during this, and he says, "I'm not." He's like, "Do you want to go on the slide?" And he said, "No." He's like, "How about we go play around, and then once you've warmed up, we'll go on the slide." So then they actually end up playing around for a while.
Yeah, it's
and then
very sweet.
they have fun. And then like you just kind of see them having a good time, and then Lucas laughs a lot, and they're like playing they go on slides, and then they do a bunch of
Like smaller slides, not the big slide.
like tiny slides, and they do water guns. And even someone says that they look so cute together, they want to take a picture, and then they kind of both have a moment where they're like, this person's okay. This
is going well.
So then at this point, Lucas says, I think I'm ready to go on the water slide. And basically just runs away and runs up the water slide. And then he pulls out the floaties. And you can see that Gary's like dealing with this right now. He's like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore, because this was a really good time. And he puts on the floaties that aren't floaties. They're full of sand. He tells them that they're kind of heavy, but when they hit the water, they'll help float. And he's like talking to Lucas, and he's like, look, you don't have to do this. And he's starting to try to see if he can talk him out of it. And the kid behind him says like he wants to get on the slide or get out of the way. And so he looks back, and Lucas jumps down the slide. And at this moment, Gary's just kind of wrestling with himself. He's like, do I leave it? What am I doing? What am I doing? He was like, God, give me a sign if you are a God. And then a plane writes the word love in the sky, and he said, that's my sign. Just, a plane writing love in the sky. That's fine. That's how God would give you a sign. And then he jumps headfirst into the slide.
Yeah, skywriters. That's how the Bible was written.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
Skywriter after skywriter after skywriter. Yeah.
It's the only way. It's the closest place. But he ends up getting down to Lucas and saving him. And as the floaties fall off, so does a Reptar. So
right?
he
is it
pulls
Reptar? Are we doing like a Rugrats thing too?
Reptar.
Hold on, I wrote it down. Erutpar.
Eretpar.
Do I have this totally wrong? Is this not something that happened in the movie? Did I make this up?
Well, I'm okay calling him that. Erutpar.
Yeah.
So Eruptpar falls, and he pulls Lucas up, and then they like kind of hug, and they kind of feel okay, and then they laugh, and he's like, do you want to do it again? And he's like, no, no.
Yeah, no.
And then they go for ice cream, and they kind of have a moment, and Gary opens up about his relationship with his father to Lucas, and he says, what was it? Like, I'm sorry about burying you. And he was like, it's fine, I understand. He's like, I'm sorry about putting sand in your floaties. And he's like, it's fine, I understand. So they both just have a moment. You also find out that his dad has been talking to him, Satan.
We forgot to talk about the poltergeist scene. Yeah.
Yeah, I said he just talked to it. Like, there was just a TV, and then he had just a TV that was turned off, or it was fuzzy. So the kid had been talking to his father through the TV and through toys. I think the TV and toys. And he said that his father wanted full custody. And he was like, oh, I'm never going to let that happen.
That's such a funny joke. That Satan is like, I want
in
custody.
In a custody battle.
That's so funny. This was the funniest joke in the movie for me.
I feel like this one had good jokes. I feel like it was very jokey. I liked most of the jokes.
This is definitely...
There were some that fell flat, but I liked
this is a comedy. This is not a horror movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So then, I have no more notes, so this is all from memory. So then he gets an Amber Alert on his phone, and it is him. He is the person who is the Amber. His son is Amber Alerted. And then Child Protective Services comes and picks him up as the police put him in the car. Lucas almost murders the police, though, and Gary stops him and is like, please don't do this. It's going to be fine. And he gets arrested, and then...
You know what else happens in that scene, though? Lucas calls him dad.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really sweet.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, he gets arrested.
But he ends up getting into the car, and Child Protective Services, Sally Fields, comes and gets him. And then at that moment, you realize that Sally Fields isn't Child Protective Services, and it is that cult run by that priest that we saw in the beginning who bought the nunnery. And now they need to, they're taking Lucas. And this is when it starts to like all come together. And who tells them that he opens the portal if he gets killed? Who tells them that? Killing him opens the portal to the underworld, and Satan has to
Oh, it's
go into
Al.
his body.
So
how does Al find that out?
yeah, this is a funny joke. The only reason I know this is because it was a funny joke. Yeah, so Adam Scott, Gary, is arrested. He's in the back of the police car, and there's like a crazy homeless person, I guess, in town who has already said weird stuff to the kid. Like he knew something was weird about the kid.
I was going to say, he was the one who ended up killing Gosmel because he was the one in the middle of the road that he swerved out of the way for.
In the middle of the road. Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah, so he's here, and Adam Scott like beckons him over to the cop car. He lets him out, and so Adam Scott runs away in his little handcuffs, and he like joins a marathon and like runs through the marathon. But then he gets to Al's house, and there's a funny joke here too. Al's stepson opens the door, and Al is like, "Is your dad home?" And the stepson is like, "I haven't seen my dad in however many years."
He's probably really stoned and sleeping with like 50 women or something.
Yeah, and he's like, "Okay, your stepdad." So Al comes to get him. They go down to Al's basement, which is like a man cave.
Oh, and that's it. Okay.
And this is so funny to me. Al is wearing safety goggles, even though all she's doing is bringing out a reference book, which is entitled The Definitive Guide of Evil Children.
Oh,
and so she opens it to a page that's like, when you kill the Antichrist, it opens a portal.
That's when we find out that everyone's been trying to convince him to murder the child, so Satan will then rise from the child.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the child isn't Satan, but the child is possibly a vessel for Satan. And at some point when he's in the car, Samantha does end up getting abducted by the priest and his cronies.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they then realize that I don't know if this part was super needed. They do realize that they need to go to the nunnery, which is the place that the priest bought in the beginning because it is hallowed ground. So they are going to try to perform the ritual. But luckily, Al has a souped up monster truck in her backyard, in her garage, in somewhere. And then all the stepdads get together to go do this. And they all go to the nunnery, and he's able to get in because he is the realtor and he can get the key from the unlocking key area. And then he gets out and he goes and...
Oh, you're just going to breeze by that he's the key master? He's the key master.
He is the key master. So then they get inside and he frees Samantha, and the priest is trying to kill Lucas with that specific knife that Gosmel had earlier in the movie. And as he's like about to impale him, Al gives Gary a baseball. This baseball was important earlier in the movie. It says best dad ever. It's like one that the stepdads get, I think, for whoever's being the best dad at the time. Something weird like that. Or on the team. I don't know. Somebody gets a ball.
Oh, I thought that it was more sentimental than that. I thought that Al had finally made headway with her stepson. Oh. And stepson gifted her the ball that said best dad ever.
Oh, I just thought it was like a gift, like a rotating ball between the group for whoever's been a better dad. But that makes more sense.
I believe my thing.
I like yours better.
I don't know which of us is right, but I'm good.
I like yours better. So we're going to go with that one. So Al gives Gary the ball, and then Gary uses his old pitcher's arm and hits the priest right in the middle of the head right before he impales little baby Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a little unclear about how the rest of this happens or why it happens. Lucas then floats really high in the air after Gary tries to give an impassioned speech to the congregation about how they don't need to murder babies. And then Lucas floats really high in the air and then drops. And then somehow the portal opens.
Or at least like a hellmouth.
Yeah. And then Lucas starts to fall, but Gary jumps in after. They're hanging for a bit. There's a lot of fire with a fire dragon at some point. And, yeah, Gary saves him. And they come out of the hole. And the rest of the stepdads were completely useless and didn't need to be in this scene, is what I think personally. But they were there with Samantha. They were there for the joke of, we met at the party earlier. Other than that, they were kind of unnecessary. But then I think they all leave and go get ice cream.
I think that's right. Yeah.
I think that's the end of the movie. There's another scene. Is there another scene, or did they just get ice cream?
I don't know. My notes ended a little while ago.
No, there is. There's a boxcar racer scene. So like,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
It ends with Gary and Lucas boxcar racing, and Lucas is leading it. And you can tell he's like a much happier child now that he has Gary taking care of him.
Yeah, he's like talking and enthusiastic. There's like something happens in the whatever. It doesn't matter. I just looked it up. At the end of this movie, I was like, it feels like we're ripping off the Ghostbusters requel.
Oh, I didn't watch the Ghostbusters requel. Yeah, I hear it's really good. I just haven't seen it yet. I've been too busy watching movies for this podcast.
No, this came out in 2016.
Oh, you're talking about the female one?
I'm not talking about the Paul Rudd one. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I did watch that one multiple times.
I love that one. Yeah. I want to watch it right now. I have too many chores to do.
You can put it on in the background.
No, my TV is so far away from everything else.
That's how I do my laundry every time. I watch Evil. I watch Evil when I do my laundry. This podcast is just an evil podcast. I'm sorry.
Well, if I'll ever watch it.
It might be.
Yeah, maybe we just do a pivot and for a little while you just explain each episode to me one by one and I never watch it. I just let you tell me the story.
I think eventually what if I make this one of my episodes for something else?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. No spoilers, listeners.
No spoilers.
But there are things afoot. Yeah, this felt like I guess not a ripoff. Like they've done enough homages to other movies that's the business they're in. But I did look it up. This came out the year after.
Oh, okay.
The Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon. Oh my God! Look, I have a little Holtzman Funko Pop.
I was really wondering what you were gonna get. I was like, what is going on? I thought you were gonna pull up the plant.
I am Funko Pop. I'm not a Funko Pop person. This was a gift. But just because Kate McKinnon is so hot. Anyway, yeah, this movie I think was referencing the end of the Ghostbusters requel.
I feel like this movie was a lot of movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I like the other movies, so I don't know if I needed this movie, but I didn't.
Oh, I didn't need this one. No.
I didn't hate this movie. I wish that I had, because I did watch the two movies right next to each other. I wish that I had time between them so I could have digested it properly. But I didn't, so my bad. But the thing that I did want to talk about is how this movie approached being, because it did just seem like somebody, I don't know if the writer / director Eli had just become a stepfather or something like that, but it did feel like it was very much about like dealing with being a stepfather and gaslighting. But then it was like sometimes it's a kid and the kid is actually the Antichrist, but sometimes the Antichrist just needs love and then he's not really the Antichrist. So it was very weird and I couldn't tell which direction it was going in, because sometimes it felt like it was trying to make the point. I don't think it was trying to make a point, because I think it was trying to be more funny than making any points. But it felt weird with it saying, like, the kid is actually evil, doing evil things. And sometimes it's not just the parent and how the parent is reacting. And that is how it just went back and forth on that to me, because it didn't make sense at the end for him to make the transformation if they kept saying, it just didn't make sense. That's the part that got to me. I know that this is really hard to explain and this doesn't make any sense either, but there's a specific line in it where it said, they kept repeating, it's never the parent, it's never the child. It's never the child. It's never the child, it's always the parent, and how the child is responding to the parent. And at the beginning of the movie, it's definitely the child. The child is the Antichrist doing evil stuff, literally murdering people.
Yeah, I just want to be clear that the person who kept repeating that was Evangeline Lily.
Yeah.
So she's biased.
And also the Child Protective Services and Wendy.
I guess I blocked all that out.
All the stepdads, I think, felt the opposite.
Yeah. You know what this movie made me want?
Other movies that weren't this movie?
Not even other movies. It made me want to reread Good Omens.
Oh. I could lie to you and tell you I've read that.
Did you watch it?
I could lie to you and tell you I've watched it.
Okay.
I need to watch Sandman, and I also haven't read it. I did buy the comic so I could read it before watching it, and I did borrow it from my cousin for like 3 years before I ever gave it back to her. Sorry, Lauren.
Yeah. Good Omens is do you know what it's about?
Yeah. Michael Sheen.
No.
It's like an angel and a devil, some good, evil, but they're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Antichrist has been born, and an angel, who, yes, is played by Michael Sheen, and a demon, who's played by David Tennant, love of my life.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. I've loved this book since high school. They've been on Earth for millennia, and they when the Antichrist is born, they're sort of tasked with, like, it's classic angel on one shoulder, devil on another. Like, they're like, God has told the angel, you must make sure the Antichrist is good. And Satan has told this demon, you must make sure he's evil. He's on our side. But they like form a truce with each other because they like living on Earth. They're like, I kind of like living with humans. I think that this is fun and cool. And like, I don't want to go to war. I don't want this all to end. It's a very funny book. It's a very funny book. I did not love the Amazon series. I sort of felt about the Amazon series the way I feel about this movie.
Oh,
fine.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I think that they're making another season, and because I love David Tennant, I will watch it. Do you have anything else to say about this one?
I can't think of anything. I just stumbled through saying how I felt about. I couldn't tell what it was trying to say. I couldn't tell if it was trying to say.
I don't think it was.
I think you're right. I'm kind of disappointed that I think that that's correct.
For lulz. I think this was just.
But I appreciate consistency.
I mean, like I said, this is comedy, not horror.
And I feel like it was inconsistent.
How do you mean?
I feel like there still needs to be something smart around how, if you're going to talk about how, not nature versus nurture, if you're going to talk about parenting in any way, you at least have to, I guess at the end, it does end up being like, yeah, it is, if you do treat them right, it is about how you treat a child that determines who they become and how they act, and if the child is acting out. But at the end, or at the beginning, it did make me feel really uncomfortable about everyone saying that when, I don't know, like it was like the kid was murdered. I don't know. I know I'm just repeating myself now, but in repetition, to make this a little bit longer. To
make a long story long.
Yeah, to make a long story even longer. I'm just going to repeat the same thing like 5 times until it doesn't make any sense. It's like saying my name over and over again. That's how I felt about this movie, is like saying my name over and over again.
Oh, you're doing an empty man. Okay.
Yeah. I did like it. I laughed. By the end of it, I was more in the first, exactly to your point, the halfway point, I was more into it. And then halfway after, I was like, yeah, this is picking up. There's stuff happening. But I laughed at a lot of the jokes. I did think it was funny. I did think it was very light. If you just need something that's not...
You don't need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
It's just on in the background. And when you tune in, there's going to be a joke. Like joke density is reasonably high. So you can just like be walking in and out of the room. Let this one just happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't like, we watched 2001 Maniacs last time. That one I viscerally would not recommend. This one I would be like, yeah, no. You could put this on. Yeah, like I'm not going to say that this is a full-on no. It's just going to be like a, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not going to recommend this.
Yeah.
But if you were like, oh, I'm watching Little Evil tonight, it'd be like, okay, have a good time.
Yeah.
Not like save your time. Don't do it.
Yeah, I would just be like, yeah.
Go for it.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty
Tell Adam Scott I love him.
Amen.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I guess that's it. We're done?
Yeah,
okay, done. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been, I already forgot, Little Evil. This has been Little Evil.
I thought you forgot your name for a second.
No. I forgot the name of the movie. I said it 30 seconds ago. And next week, we will be talking about Happy Death Day to You, the sequel to Happy Death Day. If you have not watched Happy Death Day, you got to. Mm-hmm. That's a big recommend from us. And honestly, big recommend for the sequel from me as well.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I love it.
Watch the sequel.
We love it.
Please watch the sequel before you listen to us. If you plan on watching it, do it because, yeah, agreed. Completely agreed.
Yeah. And honestly, if you think you might like it, go ahead and buy it. I'm a big dummy, and even though I loved the first one, I rented the second one like a chump. Now I'm gonna have to go buy it. Loved this one. Not Little Evil, to be clear. Loved Happy Death Day, and also Happy Death Day to You, which is what we will be discussing next week. Okay, in the meantime, please make sure to rate and review us on iTunes. That really helps the show. And you can tweet at us at No Show Monster. You can email us at noshowmonster@gmail.com. And we will see you next week. Happy Spookies.
Happy Spookies.